But I had a wonderful life. I live a life that most people couldn't, and my blessings have been great.
Where were you born, sir?
I'm down mountain now. Yeah.
So you started in the cattle business right away?
Well, no, my family were sheep people. And my mother and dad would go north with the sheep in the summer, and then in the winter they'd go to the desert town in central Nevada, and he would go with them. Then my mother would stay in Battle Mountain for us to go to school. And so we were kind of raised. And then they had small herds and stuff. I did have quite a background. I never went to school except a short time, and well, I always call it in and out. It was an in and out school for me. But so I went to work when I was 13 years old. And I'm not proud of things I did now, but I learned a lot.
You remember what your first job was in the cattle business?
Well, in the cow business, I went to work for what they called the association outfit, and it was made up of a lot of different companies, and the man that ran it was a friend of my mother's, and I thought that I got the job myself, and then years later, I figured it was all set up. But in 1938, when I went to work, everything was just like it was way before my time. And of course I had the fortunate thing to work with those old timers. Everything was a horseback and mules and work horses, of course.
After you would get up as soon as it was light, then you would go out and
gather the steers or heifers, whatever you're shipping. We had an operation out of Carlin. We had a ranch 40 miles from there. And those cattle would come in 3 days. It was nothing for us to go 50 miles a day with going like north and south. You know? But at the 25, the main ranch, we were only about 5 miles from the shipping crows. So the night before, we moved the steers as close as we could to the shipping crows, then trailer them on up. And it was quite a thing to see 1,000 steers being shipped at one time. We'd have our own trains, and those cattle would go to California. Well, it was just one day, and of course there isn't any livestock cars now today at all. And I just worked there till I went to the Army, and then I was there almost 3 years during World War II. And I had the fortune of meeting Rosita, and she kind of turned me around.
Where'd you meet your wife?
I met her in Battle Mountain. She was going to college with one of my cousins. I don't think she thought much of me then, but I thought, well, I'll just show her. So I had a little sorrel horse, and we were going to brand, and I showed off a lot on him, and I said, I'll show you Californios.
We have a granddaughter that's at Cal Poly. She's graduating, and she's does quite a bit of writing, and she thinks it's very romantic the way we met. She always says the Spanish senorita and the Nevada cowboy.
And Rosita, of course, is the one that kept our family very close, and she's been the one that settled me down. I'd be in prison today or dead. I have 7 children and 24 great children and 32 great grandchildren. Our daughter Sally, she's trains horses in California. Her grandchildren do quite well in the high school rodeos and all that. And one of our boys won the world champs in bronc riding.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And Mike and Pete were professional riders too. And of course all our kids grew up. This little girl in here, all she says to me, that I used to make her hold I don't know if you know what holding a rodeo is, but you'd bunch a bunch of cattle. The cowboys would hold them up by you'd either brand it or cut the cattle out that you wanted. And of course my kids would always have to hold the herd while I did the work. So they always said they did all the work, I didn't do anything. One of our granddaughters, she's in Cal Poly, and she's I guess the outstanding one there in art.
Quincy, and she's graduating from Cal Poly soon, and she has won all the stuff. She works for Area and designs boots, and all those beautiful boots she has designed. That's a grandson.
It's a grandson, Matt.
But I was never rodeoed. Like I say, I grew up with the sheep, and then during the Depression, we worked different and everything.
And how old are you again?
I'm 88, but I'll be 89 in June.
And you ride a horse still?
Yeah, well, I still try. Probably getting everybody's way,
And deliver babies, I
Well,
I hear you, both of you
That's what
delivered
I
a
bet
baby.
So
well, it was kind of a blessing or something. We used to go to the fair, but the first few days at the fair were too much for me. I have grandchildren and great-grandchildren that show horses. So we thought, well, we'll just stay home today. So our grandson called us from the ranch up at the Waihe Desert that his wife was in labor. And why they didn't have a doctor here, I can't tell you. And that's kind of how it came. So we got there, and Rosita went first, and she called me. I was in the corral. I had a horse down here in the corral, and I was just cleaning things up. And I'm deaf, of course, so I heard her call the phone, and I went to it. She said, "Get over here. Something's happening." So I drove faster than I'd had for quite some time. So as I got there, she was in labor, and maybe 5 minutes she started to have the baby, so I caught the baby. I'm very fortunate. I look at people that I'm nothing wrong with me.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Yeah.
when you see those people that mine's gone, but I'm not going to tell anybody.
I'll keep it a secret. You won't tell anybody.
but you know, so when you get this age, you got to be very fortunate to be doing what you want.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
And having a great family and stuff. You know,
Yeah.
that's so important.
It doesn't get any better than that.
No, it doesn't.
No.
No, it doesn't.